Alright. We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Welcome to this week's Get Together, coming out every Tuesday with a new episode with the specific goal of going from new coaches or newer coaches to good coaches as efficiently as possible, and or for those of you that are already good coaches or feel that you're already a good coach, taking that to the next level of being a great coach, an even more well-rounded coach. Being a good coach, being a great coach is one of the best ways to positively influence the next generation, future generations. And we should be very proud to be coaches. And since we're all really busy, we check in once a week here to greatly accelerate our coaching growth. With that said, this is a great time of year. The baseball playoffs are just around the corner. Football season started up. The fall weather, Halloween, and the holidays are just around the corner. Definitely a fun time of year. But I guess at the end of the day, any time of year can be fun and enjoyable if that's what we choose to make it. And by coming here, we've chosen to be better coaches. And I know for those listeners that have been here for a long time and those of you that go back and binge all the episodes, you're going to be a lot better, giving you a lot more confidence when you walk out on the field. Today's episode, I'm going to discuss a solution or a way to correct the goofing around, the messing around type of behaviors that kids do at practice. They goof around, they mess around, they lack focus. You don't need to be a coach for more than one practice to see that this is something that happens early and often at the youth sports, and in this case, the youth baseball level. So we'll talk about a strategy, a way to redirect, what I feel is a better way to redirect and minimize and reduce the goofing off. And we'll talk about that in just a second. First, I have a full holes hitting video that I recommend you all listen to. It's about 10 minutes. He was on MLB TV recently, and he really shared a lot behind what made him a great hitter. Of course, he's a big guy, substantially bigger than our players. But I thought a lot of what he shared is stuff that we could use, albeit on a simpler level, with our players, with our kids. And it was a nice peek behind one of the great hitting minds of all time. So I'll put the link in the show notes, and I thought it was just a really good video. In fact, next week I'll break down what I thought was awesome, and we'll break it down next week. And I'll just highlight next week my main observations, things that I recommend taking from it to use with our players, our kids. All right, so getting all the coaches on the same page is super important. And I think that goes without saying, the message of being on the same page as coaches. But what does that look like? Well, getting on the same page as coaches, as a coaching staff, shows up in a lot of places during practice, during training sessions, during the game. I'd like to share a tip that involves all the coaches and even the parents getting on the same page and being on the same page when it comes to correcting that goofy behavior, that distracted behavior that we all will see out there at a practice. Kids are kids, and I think we'd all agree that it's important to redirect the kids. Now, recently I was watching a practice where all the kids acting a fool, goofing around a lot, not paying attention, doing their own thing when the coach was talking. And I sensed that the coach was a little hesitant, especially because it's early in the season, to correct those kids, to correct the kids that were acting up. In this case, most of the team. They were goofing around big time, excessive goofing around. I think we got to allow some. Kids are going to be kids, but this was more than half the team, and that majority wasn't paying attention at all, doing handstands, doing all this, that, and the other, picking daisies, playing in the sand. They weren't listening, and they definitely weren't working on the skills and working within the drill like some of the other teammates were, those that were paying attention and focused. Now, there's always going to be some goofiness, and I think if we try to stamp all that out, one, it's a fool's errand, but two, I think we'll be overcorrecting. And you walk that fine line of making practice and the game and the season no fun. With that said, here's a strategy to help get these kids back on track, focused better. I believe it's important that all the coaches, the coaching staff, whether it's another coach, 3 coaches, if it's just you, there's still a part that you're going to need to do here. Now, if you're coaching by yourself, your first goal is to start recruiting other parents to coach with you. Highly recommended that every team have at least 3 to 5 helpers/coaches out there at practice. Doesn't mean they all need to be experts. Some of them don't need to know anything about baseball, but that doesn't mean they can't be on the same page with some of these things like redirecting the kids when they're goofing off, when they're excessively goofing off. So it's important to be on the same page, because if one coach is the one that's doing all the redirection, they come across as the bad guy. They come across as different. But when all the coaches or all the parents are on the same page and all redirecting those kids that are goofing off, then the message to the players is, this is the norm. This is the expectation across the board. Now, there are some times that have good cop, bad cop scenarios, but in this case, I think it's important that all the coaches get on the same page. Sometimes it takes one coach to lead the way and the others come behind. Maybe they're a little hesitant to correct the kids. That may not be their kids. Maybe the parents are right over there watching, so they're a little hesitant. I think it's important that all the coaches are coming from the same place and they're all redirecting and funneling those kids back into the drills, and that the expectation is set forth across the coaching staff or across all those that are helping run practice. Now, there's a second part to this message I think is important. I think it's important to address this briefly, but with all the parents at the preseason parent meeting or the early season parent meeting. Tell them, say, hey, in order for our players to get better faster, in order for us to improve at a faster rate, to get our skills better, to get more hits in the game, to throw more strikes, to field more ground balls, to improve our fly ball catching skills, to improve our base running skills. In order to improve those faster, our players need to be focused more often during practice. I would add this in there. I would say, I don't expect all the kids to be perfect. I don't expect there to be zero goofing off. But I want to let all you parents know that the coaching staff will be consistently redirecting the kids when they get distracted, when they start goofing off, when they start getting away from the practice items that we're covering, the drill or whatever the thing is that we're doing in practice. So you talk to the coaches about backing each other up. So now the kids can't look for that path of least resistance, that chink in the armor. They know that all the coaches are going to be redirecting them. And then you let the parents know that you will be redirecting them. So when you do it, and it will happen a lot, especially early on, if not throughout the whole season, they're kids, especially those young kids. I think it's very important to let the parents know where you're coming from and to tie it in with getting the players better. The goal is to have fun and to improve their skills. Well, we can improve their skills a lot faster if we can reduce the goofing off by 80 or 90%. How are we going to do that? First, all the coaches or those running the practice need to be on the same page and need to be addressing it early and often, consistently. I think once they reach a certain age, the players that is, I'm a big fan of the bear crawl. I talked to a coach recently about doing burpees. I don't like burpees as much as bear crawls because burpees are coming down harder on the arms. And I think in baseball, those elbows, things like that, not that it's going to do any long-term damage necessarily, and it may not do any damage at all. I just think bear crawls are just as tough or tougher, and they're very low impact compared to a burpee, things like that. And now push-ups and sit-ups, there's no cardio involved. There's no cardio penalty. And the biggest reason is that bear crawls don't really resemble any other part of fitness. We would like our kids to do some push-ups. We would like them to do sit-ups. We would like them to train and get more fit, especially as they get older. So we don't want to put this negative connotation on fitness, but bear crawls are something that are not very common in a workout routine. With that said, by about the age of 9 or 10, depending on how much the kids have played and the expectations of the team, the bear crawl is absolutely a game changer when using it to extrinsically motivate players to focus and stay on task. Again, we want to allow some goofing off. We want to have a little bit of a threshold. I would talk to the coaches about that. Say, hey, if they want to goof off during the water break, fine. If they want to goof off as soon as we're done with practice, fine. If they want to goof off before we start, cool. As long as nobody's getting dangerous with a bat or a ball. You want to allow as much goofing off as you can while allowing as little as you can when the training and the drills and the skill improvement and the team development take place. So the two parts are get the coaches on the same page. Say, hey, we all on board with this. We're going to correct this consistently. It's not just going to be one of us. It'll be all of us. It's a unified front. 2, talk to the parents, especially those parents that are at practice, and say, hey, we are going to redirect. We are going to look to reduce and minimize or even eliminate the goofing off in the drills, in the heart of practice when our players are supposed to be getting better and improving their skills with the goal of playing a lot better when the games come around or in next week's game or what have you. So it's important to be on the same page as coaches, back each other, and then let the parents know this is what's going to happen. Even better, let the kids hear you tell the parents with the caveat that you say, hey, we're here to have fun and we're not trying to get rid of all the goofing off, but the times we're in the middle of a drill, in the middle of a training session where it's very apparent that we should be focused, when the coaches are talking, when another player is talking, those are times we are going to look to reduce, minimize, if not eliminate the goofing off. And by doing this, we will be a better team when the games come around. We'll get more hits, we'll field more ground balls, we'll play better baseball, we'll win more games, we'll have more fun. Practices with excessive goofing off, one, are not a lot of fun for the players that are there to get better. So you're actually going to lose players, probably to other teams eventually, because they want to focus on baseball. And two, goofing off slows down practice. It slows it down. And whether the players know it or not, that practice is not going to be as much fun to them. They may not say it, but they're going to get that sense of that feeling that, hey, this isn't as much fun as it otherwise could be. So I think the unified front up front amongst the coaches, clarifying when goofing off is going to be allowed and when it's not going to be allowed, and then letting the parents know, preferably in front of the players, what the coach's goal is, why you're doing it, and how it benefits everybody involved. And don't be surprised. And then go out and consistently implement that strategy, those redirections, and do it fairly with all the players and go from there. All right. Had a quick hitter today, but I thought this was something that could really increase quality training time by reducing a behavior that takes away from a quality practice. It really slows things down. It's addition by subtraction. Sometimes instead of adding more things to the drill, what are the things we can take out of a practice? What are the things we can minimize or reduce that will improve and increase the productivity of a practice? So I think it starts by getting on the same pages as coaches, addressing it with the parents. I think it's important to tell them, hey, some goofing off is going to be fine. It doesn't sound like you're coming across as this strict disciplinarian, totalitarian. There's leeway. The kids will have a little bit of a leash, but there's a time and a place. And then tell them this is when goofing off is fine, or this time or that time. And then this is how we're going to correct it and go from there. And lastly, it's very important that we do not take it personally. Kids goofing off and acting up is not something they're doing to get back at you or me as a coach, to get back at us as coaches. They're not. They're kids. Let's put the ego aside. It's not about us. They're not doing it to get us angry or mad or any of the above. They're doing it because, one, they're wired to be kids. Two, they might be super excited to be out there with their friends. And three, they haven't quite learned the art of when and where certain behaviors are more acceptable and less acceptable. So that's our job, to get them ready for life. And along the way, we're going to win more games and develop better baseball players by doing this. If you haven't already, head over to 8020baseball.com. We got 14 videos over there, a dozen articles, just a huge jumpstart on improving your coaching mindset, your coaching skills, actionable things you can take out there with your team. There's the free drill design guide you can get for free. I'm the one who manages the website, so you put your email in there and you'll get instant access to the drill design guide. Take the guesswork out of coaching, and that's the goal of 80/20 Baseball, is to take the guesswork out and efficiently give you a path to being a great coach. Speaking of greatness, next week we'll break down the video from Albert Pujols. I'll put it in the show notes this week. Definitely think you should watch it, but I'm going to share how I see it from a coach of 20 plus years, a player who played college and pro ball, and most importantly, how to translate it down to the youth baseball level so we can effectively utilize it. And also next week, I have a tip, an SOP tip, standard operating procedure tip, for improving our practices much faster. So improving faster. We all want to improve, but what if we can improve faster? I have a specific tip that you can start using right away. I like to call it an SOP tip. It's just what you do. It's part of the plan, part of the practice routine. I'll share that with you next week. In 2 weeks, I'm going to share a tip about best utilizing each coach on the staff to increase the productivity and the skill development at a much faster rate with your players. That also increases continuity between the players and the coaches and reduces confusion, etc. So I'll share that tip in 2 weeks, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Fun time of year, baseball playoffs, football, a lot of you getting into fall ball, Halloween, holiday season. And then once all that fun's over, the spring, the official baseball seasons will kick off. So that's icing on the cake. So let's continue to take care of our health so we can be at our best, so we can be there for our family, our close friends. And now let's take this information out to the field. Let's take it out there and put it into action. Doesn't do any good staying up between your ears. Put it into play, put it into action, and go from there. All right, everyone. Y'all take care. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80/20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.